thought I'd make a video of how to remove this cooktop because I've seen online on the forum that several people have had water spill into the sink and then their burner won't light or it runs really rough, and that actually happened to me, which is how I learned how to do this, basically out of necessity. I thought I'd let it dry on its own, but it was obvious a lot of water got into it and it would been weeks, probably months, and I didn't know if that would damage it. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is make sure that the gas is off. Here I am I do have the gas off and I'm trying to light it to make sure there's any gas in the line. I don't know if that's the formal official way to do it, but I just make sure I have both gas switches off and there's no gas in the line. Then you can remove these burners and just keep track, make sure that when you do that these guys don't get lost. So this is actually a really simple job. The next thing you do is just remove these little rubber covers in the corner. They cover some screws. I've already loosened that one. I guess I didn't tighten that, but so the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go around, and this stovetop, it's held firmly against the counter right now, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to loosen each screw until you start feeling that the stovetop will lift up against, there'll be a little bit of a gap there and there'll be some play. It'll feel loose. You don't take the screw all the way out. I recommend getting a good screwdriver because you need to push down hard into this, fairly hard, so you don't strip out the screw head. So I'm loosening it. I loosen the screw and see now that's sufficiently loose. I haven't removed the screw, but I can tell that the edge of that edge is free. Now I'll do the same to this one. This one's tight. So again, make sure you seat that screwdriver in that, seat it well and push down on it because you don't want to round that screw out, which I feel like I'm actually starting to do. But so again, I'll just pushing down firmly, and I can tell that that's loose now. So, and I'm going to show you what's going on after I get all these out. So I'll come around to this one again, push down, and just periodically check it. That one's loose now. And then, like I said, I had already done this one. That one's loose. So all the screws are loose now, and that should be sufficient to lift this up out of the slot, out of its opening. So I think this one on the side's catching a little bit, so I'm going to loosen it a little bit more and see if I can't get this guy out of there. And I am having a little issue, so again, I'm going to loosen this. I think I got it there. Okay, so you see how you get one side out? You may want to pull it toward the side that's free, and I'll show you why. So how this works is that when the screws are tightened, these are the mechanisms that hold the top in place, and as you loosen the screws, so as you tighten the screw, this tab gets pulled up into this channel and holds the comes up underneath the bottom edge of the countertop and holds the stove, pulls the stove top down against the counter. And so there's 4 of those. So this is actually how much you needed to have loosened it, ideally. So I loosened it enough that the tab came down past the slot, just enough past the slot that you can move it to the side. And that's what you're going to want to do to reinstall all these, is to make sure that the tabs are all positioned to the side, away from the slot, so that you can put it down into the opening. Okay, so once this is once you have those tabs freed up, you can see there's a lot of hose and there's a lot of wiring, so that you can actually move this around. And what I did is I put like a pan with a really absorbent towel in it, and I placed the pan underneath in that opening with that towel in it to catch the liquid, and just move this enough so that I could pour the water out of the burner. And I had like a good half a cup in here, so you can see how I kind of twisted it here and go like this and dump it. So I mean, that's something that we should probably all know how to do, because periodically you may get some water in there and you don't want to wait for a month for it to dry out. And there's some other things you can see just how easily, I mean, you can't work on a gas fitting, but you can see some of the things you could check, like if your stove wasn't working, these wires in the back, the connection points and things like that. So I'm going to just reverse the process, and the whole key to this is making sure that these tabs are all positioned like that, all the way around on all four corners before you set this back in. Now I got those two, so I'm going to move around to this back one. And what you want to note too, potentially what could happen is that this whole thing is so loose that this whole thing is moved. What you're going to want to do in that case, if you loosen it too much, let me just loosen this up. I'll show you what I mean. Like what too loose means. See how now this whole thing is spinning, so that's too loose. So, but what you want to do to get it back in is you're going to flip this until this back shelf area is on the back side, and then hold it there with your thumb and just tighten it enough that it kind of holds it in place. So that's what I have going on in the back left corner. I didn't follow my own rules, so in this case it's a little loose, but not enough that it's going to let this whole thing spin, and I have this tab out of the way. So I'm going to do that with all, and I'm going to correct this. I'm going to correct the issue with the one I have back here. I loosened that way too much. Okay. Okay, so that one is giving me a little bit of a problem. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make sure that one goes in first. So if that one touches under the edge, I'm good. And let me check it. See, it's obviously held captive there. So these other three were in the correct position. That one I have a little trouble with, but I'm going to go ahead and slide that one in first. And these are all free, but I can tell that that one's okay because I can't lift up on that. And so again, you want to make sure you have a good size screwdriver that's fit to that screw head, because you don't want to wear out that screw head. And I'm going to just keep turning this until I feel, now I can tell that I don't want to over tighten it. That's remove the play in it, and that one's held. And you can actually see as you tighten the screw, you'll see this portion of the stovetop move down a little bit. So then all you do is you go around and tighten those down. And so what's happening here is that tab's moved over, and it's under the counter, and it's pulling, as you're tightening it, it's pulling this down. So you don't want to do a ton of it. So now that one's held captive and this one's loose. Again, just tighten it down. Make sure you get don't let that screw strip. You can tell now this one's good enough. You don't want to over tighten it. You just want it to be tight enough to hold it down against the counter, because you figure you got a piece of plastic on the other side, and this screw could easily break it if you over tighten it. So there you go. That's all you got to do. And then you just replace these little rubber covers here. I think I'm gonna have to do a lighting after this, just to see that I didn't screw anything up. I mean, it's just about your comfort level. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff, so I feel pretty comfortable with removing a few screws, and just don't want to pull this out and yank on it because you do have a gas line on there and you have electrical wires. So, but as long as you're careful and kind of tilt it the way I did, probably be okay. I'm going to go get the gas on. Okay. So I have the gas on, and now I'm going to light the stove. And there we go. Nice blue flame. When it was full of water, it sputtered and it had orange flame. Looked awful. There we go. In business. Of course, you want to make sure you don't smell any gas, and just in general, be careful. So I hope that helps.